Welcome to today's Ethnic Media Services Zoom News Conference. I'm Pilar Marrero, Associate Editor of EMS. Today, we're partnering with a longtime partner, the nonprofit Housing and Economic Rights Advocates, to focus on new threats to home ownership that particularly target communities of color and what people need to know to avoid losing their family homes. The California Mortgage Relief Program, launched in December 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, we all remember, provided help to millions of financially struggling homeowners. But at some point in the near future, the funds will run out, leaving more homeowners at risk of foreclosure. Our speakers today will talk about the work of the California Housing Finance Agency, CalHFA, which runs the Mortgage Relief Program, and about zombie mortgages. Today is the Day of the Dead, so that's very appropriate. Predatory clean energy PACE loans and home improvement scams. Two homeowners will share their personal experiences with dealing with these threats. Our speakers include Joe Jaramillo, Senior Attorney with HERA, Housing and Economic Rights Advocates, Rebecca Franklin, President of CalHFA, Joanna Torres, Program Coordinator with the California Rural Legal Assistance, and her client, and Mary Day, Staff Attorney with HERA, and her clients, Danny Bishop. We ask speakers to speak slowly for our interpreters in Spanish, Mandarin, and Korean, and we ask reporters to enter questions in the chat, which we will address following each speaker as time allows. Our speakers are also encouraged to answer questions in the chat throughout the conference. Sorry, I missed the name of the client, Mary Day's client. I think it's Saul de la Cruz. We will send a video of today's conference and expanded bios with contact information for each speaker to all participants later today. Our first speaker is Joe Jaramillo with HERA. Please go ahead, Mr. Jaramillo.
Thank you, Pilar, and good morning to everybody. My name is Joseph Jaramillo. I'm a senior attorney at Housing and Economic Rights Advocates, or HERA. HERA is a California statewide nonprofit legal services organization dedicated to helping Californians build a safe and sound financial future, free of discrimination and economic abuses in all aspects of household financial concerns. We provide free legal services, consumer workshops, and training for professionals, and we engage in policy work locally, statewide, and nationally. HERA is extremely concerned about three significant challenges to maintaining home ownership that we see dramatically impacting communities of color and other vulnerable homeowners. Number one, keeping the family home when a parent or grandparent passes away. Number two, the continued marketing of property assessed clean energy, or PACE, P-A-C-E, financing for energy efficient home improvements that puts the borrower's home at risk if unpaid. And number three, the so-called zombie second mortgages that are coming back to haunt borrowers with unexpected bills and threats of foreclosure after years of lying dormant. I will briefly address these problems, and we'll have other speakers talk about their experiences as well. And we're also very glad to have Rebecca Franklin, the president of CalHFA, here to inform people about a program that has helped so many homeowners. I think it's over 23,000 homeowners in California keep their homes, the California Mortgage Relief Program. Our hope is that this information will get out to the communities being impacted by these significant foreclosure risks so they can take preventative action. Let me start with the risk to the family home when a parent or grandparent passes away. It's generally, the problem is most severe when the parent or grandparent passes away intestate, meaning without a will or a trust. When an individual dies intestate, their loved ones have to go through probate court to inherit their estate. And this is very burdensome. Many people are intimidated to do it. There's excessive out-of-pocket fees. There's accessibility barriers for legal services, and navigating the probate process can be long and arduous. Many heirs do not know where to start. And in the meantime, The property's there, property taxes have to be paid, homeowners insurance and the mortgage are due. And if they're not paid, the property's at risk of foreclosure. The surviving family members might not be able to afford these payments, or surviving family members may not have clarity on who's responsible for paying them. If they had inherited the property directly from a trust or a will put into probate and started probate proceedings, they could apply for foreclosure relief programs. But without that, it's very difficult for them to do so. We've had many clients, one of whom you'll hear from today, who've struggled to keep the family home after their parent or grandparent dies without a will or a trust. Homeowners of color are particularly hard hit by this problem. Black and Latino households in particular had less net worth to deal with pandemic-related financial hardships. These homeowners consistently reported higher rates of falling behind on their mortgage payments and also being at risk of foreclosure during the pandemic. Fortunately, most loan servicers provided forbearance and loan workouts, like loan modifications to borrowers during the pandemic. However, and this is the concern, this is really the new threat that we see coming out of the pandemic, foreclosures have jumped back to their near pre-pandemic levels. And so these same households are put further at risk. And the result is that families are losing their most valuable intergenerational asset, the family home. Policy measures like the California Mortgage Relief Program were established to help people with COVID-related financial hardships and alleviate the situation and keep people in their homes, but they need to be renewed and funded to be able to provide continuing relief until the financial impact of the pandemic is alleviated. The California Mortgage Relief Program in particular is projected to run out of funds by 2025, if not sooner, and households of color will lose a key avenue of relief when that happens. I'd like to turn now to the second threat, and that is predatory PACE financing, the Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. This is a program that finances solar energy and other energy efficient home improvements with no money down loans that are repaid by adding an expensive assessment line item to a homeowner's property taxes. However, PACE financing has put thousands of homeowners of color at risk because these loans are secured by the property. So if they're not paid, the property can be put in foreclosure, and they could be sued for foreclosure by the PACE program itself, or if they fall behind on their property taxes because they can't afford it, then the county, after 5 years of delinquency, can do a county tax sale of the property. And many times, the property taxes are being paid by the mortgage company and added onto the mortgage bill. And so then someone's with the PACE assessment lien on their property, their mortgage bill could just skyrocket and they won't be able to afford it. And when they fall behind on their mortgage, they could also lose their home that way. So there's just many ways that these PACE loans can put people at foreclosure risk. And the problem is, it sounds good in theory that this could provide people who might not otherwise afford credit to use the equity in their home to add these energy efficient home improvements. But the problem is that many salespeople and building contractors have targeted low-income households precisely because they could not qualify for other types of financing. And they've misrepresented the cost of the home improvements, sometimes even claiming that these services are for free. Many times the improvements like the solar panels do not even function, are not even installed or not connected to the electric utility. And so there's no savings at all in terms of energy efficiency. And meanwhile, they're put on the hook for a highly increased property tax bill. We've had many clients with this problem, some of whom we've been able to help, and others who unfortunately have lost their homes. One elderly couple in Oakland, for example, had their property tax bill go from $6,000 to $13,000 once the PACE assessment was added for their home improvements. And that in turn caused their mortgage to go up by $600. And because they were on a fixed income, they could no longer afford to pay the mortgage, and they ended up losing their home. The home improvement salespeople who were marketing these PACE loans frequently solicit elderly Californians, and they target communities of color. We've had clients who signed up for the program after contractors marketed at their churches. In other cases, entire neighborhoods of color, like Latino communities in the Central Valley, primarily Spanish speaking, have been subject to mass canvassing by salespeople, telling them that this is a free government program, which is completely false. The homeowners who were targeted often have difficulty accessing other sources of credit because of their low income or their debt load, but PACE financing taps their home equity, and it's offered on unfairly expensive terms to people who otherwise wouldn't qualify for credit, and it puts the homeowners at risk because that loan is secured by the property. Fortunately, the California Mortgage Relief Program just recently began a pilot program to assist some of these homeowners who were put at risk by the PACE program with one particular type of PACE loan that's called a HERA loan. So not all PACE loans at this point, but the HERA loan. And we hope that this program can provide much needed relief to homeowners who are struggling not to fall behind on their property tax and mortgage payments as a result of these predatory PACE financing loans. But again, the key is going to be keeping this program funded and making sure that victims of predatory PACE financing know about it and apply for it. Finally, I'd like to talk briefly about zombie mortgages. These are second loans secured by a home that were often taken out at the same time as a larger first lien mortgage. And they were basically split the first and the second to allow borrowers to avoid large down payments and apply part of the second to the down payment. Many borrowers didn't realize there were two loans. Usually it was the same lender that split the loans. And these loans carry interest rates of 9% or more, and balloon payments, big giant payments due at the end of the loan that must be paid with prepayment penalties. So basically making them pay that large balloon payment, or else if they try to pay it off earlier, they have to pay a penalty, which deters them from doing so. These loans included predatory terms, and they were marketed very heavily before the housing crash in communities of color in lower income neighborhoods. The borrowers were told that the value of their homes inevitably going to go up, and they could refinance these loans into other loans with better terms. But then the housing market collapsed, and borrowers struggled to pay their first loan, or they lost their house in foreclosure because they couldn't keep up with the payments. Then what happened is the second mortgage zombie lenders, they realized they couldn't foreclose on these folks because the homes were worth less than what was owed on the first mortgages. So they basically washed their hands of it. They stopped billing people, and many sold the loans at a discount to other companies without even giving notice to the borrowers. So many of these homeowners believed that the second mortgage debt was gone or forgiven because they didn't hear from them. If they were able to hold on to their home by modifying the first loan, they thought the second loan was included. Many people filed bankruptcy and they thought that the second loan was wiped away. There was never any communication from these lenders. They just basically went out of the picture. 10 years later, more recently, now that home values are back up, the debt collectors that bought these loans have resurrected these dormant mortgages. And that's why they're called zombies. They've come back from the dead, and now they're coming after people with extremely high interest rates and fees being added on to the original loan. So out of the blue, they start sending letters and statements. They're threatening foreclosure, and they're demanding that the homeowner pay the outstanding balance of the mortgage along with years of interest and fees. These homeowners often have many concerns and questions about how the new amounts being billed were calculated, but they have very few options to obtain information or to challenge the loan servicing or engage in any loan workout to relieve them of this debt. They tend to particularly affect borrowers in communities of color where these type of mortgages were heavily marketed, as I said. And unfortunately, the second lien mortgages are not covered by mortgage relief programs like the California Mortgage Relief Program. So there is a policy vacuum on how to help borrowers to deal with these. These are really the toughest loans to help people try to work out. HERA is available to try to help homeowners with these problems and to advocate for changes to fill the policy gaps. Our hope is that this information will get out to communities being impacted by these significant foreclosure risks. And now I'd like to pass it on to Pilar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. I think education is the most important thing. In the three things that you mentioned, education would have been key. You have family members dying without a testament. It seems that it would be logical for people to think that they should do that, but it's not. And the other two are threats of people who are basically taking advantage of vulnerable folks. And I'm wondering, has there been any enforcement or any monitoring of these types of predatory PACE loans? And so, zombie mortgages are another thing, but the second ones in particular, the PACE loans that you know of.
Yes, advocates like HERA, California Rural Legal Assistance, who's also on this Zoom with Johanna Torres. Other groups have pushed for policy reforms, and we have gotten some things passed to try to provide more disclosures to people being solicited for PACE loans, and also to ensure that they have the ability to repay them. Unfortunately, we still see problems. We still see people lured in through misrepresentations. And so that's why I think it's crucial that, and then in the meantime, some people who have not gotten legal assistance now, have got the loans like more than 4 years ago. It makes it very hard to bring a lawsuit because there's statute of limitations that pass. So, we're consistently trying to educate the public on how predatory these loans are, and it appears that the number of loans being taken out is finally going down, but it is really important to have governmental assistance like the California Mortgage Relief Program to assist these borrowers in paying down or paying off these predatory loans.
Before we move on to the following speaker, Mr. Jaramillo, you said that foreclosures are up again after the pandemic. Do you have any sense of what are the biggest reasons for the uptick among these three or other reasons?
Yeah, I think all of these three factors contribute to it, but I think part of it also is that during the pandemic, the loan servicers were providing relief. They put people on payment pauses. They had more lenient programs to help them work out their loans by, say, putting the past due payments at the end of the loan and then spreading it out over more time so that the payments could be affordable. But now that the pandemic is over, they don't see that in their minds that the loan servicers don't see the need to do that anymore. And some of the government requirements for the government-backed loans have expired or phased out. And so now we're kind of back where we were pre-pandemic, where the loan servicers, especially if they're not government-backed loans, they have a lot of leeway on whether to help somebody out and help them keep their home or to be aggressive about foreclosure. So I think the fact that the pandemic relief programs have phased out, except for the California Mortgage Relief Program, I think that has contributed a lot to it, in addition to these three factors discussed.
I would have to add the inflation we're living at the moment. So that's probably another reason. But thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. I was going to say Señor Jaramillo. Next we welcome Rebecca Franklin with CalHFA. Welcome, Mrs. Franklin.
Thank you. I'm Rebecca Franklin. I am the president of the California Mortgage Relief Program, a offering through the California Housing Finance Agency. I'm just here to talk about our program. The program was established in March of 2021 with President Biden signing the ARPA Act, which created a housing assistance fund. We then kind of formed a program around talking to California homeowners what they felt that they needed in response to the pandemic. And so the program itself offers multiple ways for homeowners to get a fresh start on missed kind of housing related payments that they may have missed due to the pandemic. So first, all of our offerings, we offer an $80,000 grant. Unlike other relief programs from the Great Recession, the former program, Keep Your Home California, those were liens. This is a grant, so no one has to pay it back. We help homeowners in multiple ways. First, if you've missed your mortgage payments. So if you were unable to pay your payment, maybe you were sick or laid off or family members you had to care for, we help you catch up at those missed mortgage payments. We also help with property tax arrearages. So if you didn't have a mortgage or you had an unescrowed property tax, so it's not combined with your mortgage payments, we're here to help you and work with you to be able to catch you up on your missed property tax payments. We also are able to offer help with what we call partial claims or loan modifications that homeowners had entered into when we were about the fall of 21. A lot of the mortgage servicers offered these mortgage partial claims. So if you owed money and then you worked with your servicer to take that active balance and kind of move it to the back of your loan, we call those partial claims or deferments, a COVID loan modification. The California Mortgage Relief Program is also helping homeowners with that. We kind of have those set offerings right now, and we are always looking to expand our offerings and grow and meet the market needs, but those are the current core offerings the program has. As president of this program, we really encourage homeowners to connect with us if you're facing problems with those payments as I described. If you are struggling paying your bills around housing, even if you're not a good fit for our program, we will connect you with a HUD certified housing counselor or legal services if you need kind of a more technical support through legal services. And so we really find that homeowners just connecting with us, talking to us, we can try to at least get you at the bare minimum educated about the options you have to kind of save your home. The program recognizes that, certain ethnic and racial groups are hit harder financially due to the pandemic. And we really, our goal of this program is to retain that generational wealth. These, first-time home buyers who worked and sacrificed so much to get a home where their kids grew up, maybe their grandkids visit them. We don't want you to lose your home. We want homeowners to come connect with us and see if we can help you and work through this. I think a lot of times when homeowners hear about our program, they say that someone's giving me $80,000 I don't have to pay back. That's too good to be true. This isn't real. And it is real. And we really want homeowners to connect with us. Also, I think when you are behind on your mortgage payments, especially something like your home, it's a core thing about the stability of your life. It's a personal thing. It's a personal struggle that you're having. And it's hard to reach out to this unknown group and say, can you help me? And that's where the HUD certified housing counselors come in. Our community-based organization network we have across the state helps homeowners with in-language support, apply, get educated. And so I definitely think that, regardless of your situation, you need to know that you're not alone and we're here to help. And while it is a personal situation and you may be, struggling and stressed, I think connecting with the program, it's not too good to be true. It's just worth a shot. So that's all I have to say today, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Franklin. How has the response by people been? Have enough people applied for what you have to offer? And if not, what reasons do you think are there for that?
Yeah, so the response has been great. We've been operating for about 2 years. We launched in December of 21. We've dispersed over 650 or almost $650 million to homeowners in the state. We've helped over 26,000 households retain their home and catch up on payments. So I do think, though, that, we do have some criteria. The federal government did set forth criteria about this program. It has to be your primary residence. You're not able to own other homes in the state. This should be your sole resident. We do have an income determination. So it's for low to moderate income households. So if you work through, but I don't want to have people not engage with us because, determining my area median income is a complex thing, and we'll do that for you. We'll work with you. And even if you don't meet the criteria of the program, we want you to get educated on your options, work with a HUD counselor, work with legal services, and know your options because you're not alone. A HUD certified housing counselor in this state is a free service. CalHFA runs a separate program where homeowners can go in and get counseling for free. The mortgage relief program sponsored legal service grant. You can go and work with a lawyer for free. So I think that the homeowners, maybe like I said before, think it's too good to be true. Someone's giving me $80,000. That sounds kind of crazy in this time, but it's true. I think also, understanding the criteria, that's our job. We'll look at the criteria for you. If you've missed payments, if you were missing payments and you worked with your servicer and now it's this loan on the back, come and just talk to us and we'll see what we can do to help you and get you through the application process.
That's a very good strategy to tell people just to come to you and you'll figure it out. And so they don't have to figure it out themselves. So how long can we expect these mortgage assistance to be around in California, more or less?
So the California Mortgage Relief Program was a one-time allotment of just over $1 billion to the state of California. While the program has till 2025 to run through, we will probably run out of money before that. So we encourage people to apply now and to be able to connect with us. Again, just talk to us. We're going to get you help. Even if we can't give you the $80,000, we want to be able to get you educated on your situation. And there may be other options for you to pursue, but we will be running money. I mean, the very end is 2025, September. I think we will run out of money and it's a one-time allotment.
Excellent. Rebecca, I think there's a question for you in the chat, but I'm going to move on to the next speaker in the interest of time. Thank you so much for your presentation. So now we welcome Joanna Torres with CRLA. Thank you, Ms. Torres. I think you're going to introduce your client.
Thank you, Pilar. Yes, my name is Joanna Torres. I'm with California Rural Legal Assistance. And one of the issues that we did want to flag and alert that is going on is not a lot of mortgage servicers were providing, clearly explaining to individuals the options that were available to them. For example, the forbearance, which was briefly explained by Joe Jaramillo at HERA, where payments are paused for a set period of time, and those periods of time are coming to an end. So now more borrowers are responsible for making a workout plan to repay those payments that were missed. But not every borrower was informed about that option. That was one of the things that we saw. Individuals who spoke Spanish were having a lot more difficulty getting through with mortgage servicers to clearly understand what were their options. And now with the mortgage relief program, sometimes servicers are not informing borrowers of those options. So sometimes they're unaware that there's an option to receive a grant from the state of California through the mortgage relief program to avoid foreclosure. And we have actually seen there's a delay with the mortgage servicers applying funds once they do receive funds from the mortgage relief program. There's been situations where they still owe money, where the borrowers still owe money after the mortgage relief program has provided the funds to the mortgage servicer. So those are some of the issues that we're seeing. We have also seen that there's still a lot of scams going on, especially in the low income and people of color communities, where scammers are targeting them. It's foreclosure is public information, so it'll show who owes how much they're behind to who they owe and their name and their address. So scammers are targeting them, and we are afraid that they might be even starting to scam through the mortgage relief program. We are investigating a case where someone was claiming that they helped the homeowner receive funds. They did not disclose where those funds came from, and so we are investigating that because now they're requesting requesting that title be changed due to those funds that were dispersed. So we are currently investigating that since it barely came in. But what I did want to introduce my client is regarding a zombie second mortgage loan. As Joe Jaramillo explained, the zombie second mortgage loans are coming back after not communicating with borrowers for a set period of time. And whether it's in writing or verbally, they're not calling borrowers. So these borrowers are not aware that this is still an outstanding debt. They, like Joe Jaramillo explained, were under the impression that it was either modified or forgiven. And majority of the cases that we have seen are elderly, Spanish-speaking individuals, very low income. They're the ones that have the zombie second mortgages that are coming in. And given the high interest rates, it's really hard for individuals to access their equity in the property because escrow interest rates are so high that it's hard to combine the second into the first to avoid the foreclosure. My client, Saul de la Cruz, speaks Spanish only. So it's I will pass it over to him to be able to share his story. And Pilar, if you may interpret for him. Thank you.
Sí, muchas gracias, señor Saúl. Bienvenido. ¿Cómo está?
Gracias. Estoy
Gracias
bien,
por-
gracias a Dios.
Gracias por acompañarnos. Me gustaría, y la abogada ya explicó un poco de lo que es la situación de las segundas hipotecas y de que usted está en esa situación. Hábleme un poco sobre su situación personal, cuál es el problema ahora con esa segunda hipoteca, y hable cortito para que yo le pueda ir traduciendo a los periodistas que están en la línea. I just asked Mr. Saúl de la Cruz, who got one of these zombie mortgages, to explain what his personal situation is and to speak in short phrases so I can translate for you all. Señor Saúl, por favor, adelante.
Sí, gracias por el espacio. Comienzo con un relato breve. Somos una familia mexicana que un día decidimos, por motivos diferentes, llegar a este país, a este estado, para luchar y buscar la manera de conseguir mejores condiciones de vida para nosotros y para nuestras familias. Luchamos mucho.
Déjeme traducir eso, señor Saúl. We are a Mexican family that, like many others, one day decided to come to this country looking for a better life. Adelante.
Sí, después de tiempo de luchar, pensamos y tomamos la decisión de tratar de conseguir una vivienda digna donde están nosotros seguros.
After a while, we were fighting to survive. We decided we needed to invest in a home that would imply security for us. Adelante, señor Saúl.
Para eso elegimos una zona muy importante de Salinas, de casas nuevas, pedimos ayuda. Nos ayudaron para conseguir 2 créditos para completar la cantidad que costaba la casa.
We selected an area of Salinas. This is in Monterey County, right? And we asked for help, and we were helped in getting 2 mortgages to complete the money we needed to buy the house. Adelante, señor Saúl.
Lo siguiente fue que nos autorizaron los créditos y estábamos cumpliendo bien con los créditos de 2 bancos diferentes. Llegamos a un tiempo donde hubo unas condiciones muy difíciles que nos obligamos a pedir una modificación del primer crédito para hacer un pago diferente.
Sí. Déjeme traducir eso. The 2 credits were authorized, and we were paying. We were keeping up with the 2 loans. However, we went through some hard times, and we asked for a modification. Sigue adelante.
Luego nos enteramos que el dueño del segundo préstamo, que fue Countrywide, Banco Countrywide, desconozco exactamente el motivo por qué el mismo gobierno lo desapareció y se perdió todo tipo de información por el motivo que no pudimos hacer una modificación de pago. No encontramos nadie que nos diera información.
The second mortgage was underwritten by Countrywide, and we don't know exactly why they were disappeared. We might all remember that story many years ago. And we didn't really know how to get a modification on where to go for help. Adelante, señor Saúl.
Después recibimos, yo personalmente en mi teléfono recibí llamadas, parece que son 3 o 4 personas que me querían hacer un cobro de ese crédito de ese banco por teléfono. Yo no podía aceptar hacer un pago por una llamada por teléfono. Y fueron pasando los días, después hubo un banco que reclamó la deuda, pero no daban más información hasta que apareció esta compañía de Data Solution tratando de hacer el cobro y la verdad sí, prácticamente como amenazándonos por vender la casa.
¿Cómo se llamaba la compañía, señor? La de la que esta última?
Right Time Solution. Right Time Solution.
Lifetime Solutions. Okay.
Right Time Solution.
Okay. He started receiving calls of people trying to charge him for the mortgage, even though Countrywide was not in business anymore, and he just couldn't accept to make a payment over the phone. Eventually, a bank reclaimed those mortgages, and it ended up being a company called Lifetime Solutions, the one that bought the mortgage and started trying to threaten the family and him if they didn't pay. Adelante, señor Saúl. Siga.
Me llamó mucho la atención la diferencia de los dos préstamos. ¿Por qué el primer préstamo sí está regulado por las leyes quizá del Estado y leyes federales? Y el segundo préstamo no está protegido por las mismas leyes y le permiten hacer lo que ellos prácticamente quieren hacer con la deuda y cobrarla como ellos la quieran cobrar. Desconozco las leyes. Precisamente por eso es mi pregunta, ¿por qué este banco o esta compañía quiere cobrar sin dar ningún tipo de información?
He's puzzled as to why the way the two different loans were handled. He says one loan is regulated by the law, by one law, and the second one is not regulated or regulated by other laws. And this company that eventually bought the loan was able to do whatever they wanted with it and charge it and try to get the money in any way that they wanted to. Adelante, señor Saúl.
Ahora, mi pregunta es para el abogado, ¿por qué motivo esta compañía no nos manda un estado de cuenta y al final del año nos manda una información para nosotros hacer el reporte que debemos hacer por año al gobierno por la cantidad que le hemos pagado? Desconozco si eso está dentro de la ley o tampoco lo protege la ley.
¿No le manda ningún tipo de documentación?
No hemos recibido alguna información a la hora de hacer nuestro reporte de los taxis.
Yeah.
O con comprobante de pago, no nos manda nada, no nos dice cuánto le debemos todavía o
Entiendo, sí, entiendo.
¿Cómo vamos a seguir?
She's just asking, he still doesn't understand why this company that bought the mortgage does not send them a statement, and they don't send the tax, the information for at the end of the year for the tax breaks that they should be able to get for paying the mortgage. And he's asking attorneys in here to answer that, and we'll hope to have a chance to answer that as well. I don't know if the attorney can say something about it afterwards. ¿Tiene algo más que decir, señor Saúl?
Sí. A ver, desconozco con cuánto estamos atrasados con esa deuda. Y si nos pueden ayudar legalmente para que esa compañía nos mande información sobre un estado de cuenta y nos mande también información, lo que se debe mandar las compañías, la información para nosotros hacer nuestro reporte de los taxis. No lo hemos recibido por parte de ellos.
Entiendo, sí, entiendo. So he's asking, and maybe this is a question for HERA, how can he get information from this company about how much he owes? He doesn't even know that. and he doesn't get his tax information at the end of the year, and he doesn't even know how behind they are in the loan. ¿Algo más, señor?
Sí, yo quisiera preguntar en este caso al abogado si lo
Sí.
que yo estoy planteando aquí estoy en mi derecho o la
Sí.
ley no me protege para eso, para no insistir en lo mismo.
Claro,
Simplemente
entiendo.
nada más
Déjeme
tratar de
ver,
cumplir.
señor, si es el abogado Jaramillo, lo puede contestar.
Sí.
Joseph Jaramillo, would you like to address this issue?
Yes, I could address it briefly, and I think we could, talk longer. Johanna and I can connect about this further. But there are laws like the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act that require most mortgage servicers to provide periodic statements and information to the borrower. There are some exceptions to this, and this is an area for reform that is much needed. There's some exceptions, for example, for home equity lines of credit that the borrowers don't have the same rights necessarily, but there still are ways that we can try to advocate to get the information necessary to find out what charges are being made, what is the interest that's being added on, why aren't they providing the information. So I would just encourage Johanna and Mr. De La Cruz to follow up with me afterward, and we can try to do some advocacy on that. But unfortunately, this is a common problem that we see with some of these. They're like predatory mortgage servicers that are basically going after the debt, but not providing the borrowers with the information that they should be entitled to figure out if they really owe the amounts that are being claimed.
Okay, let me tell Saúl, señor Saúl, después el abogado Jaramillo va a hablar con Johanna y con usted sobre esto, y les va a contestar sus preguntas, y sí hay maneras de averiguar todo esto. Tenemos que seguir adelante con los siguientes participantes. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Le agradezco la oportunidad para explicar mi caso.
Por supuesto, muchísimas gracias. Okay, we're moving forward. All right, and we're going now to Mary Day, and she's going to introduce Danny Bishop, her client in this case.
Hello. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mary Day. I'm a staff attorney, and one of the areas that I work on is helping homeowners preserve their homes during times of crisis. And Danny and I have been working together for almost, over a year. When he first came to me, he lives in the city of Richmond, and he advocates on behalf of his mother, who has had some declining mental health. So when he first came to me, the city of Richmond had imposed a fine of $56,000 for code enforcement. And the problem with that is there's penalties and fees associated, and that was upwards to $20,000. So he had a substantial property tax debt associated with that. And at the time, California mortgage relief, the maximum relief he could get was $20,000. Thankfully, Danny and I worked with the city of Richmond. They recognized actually that they had made a mistake, and the $56,000 was in error, which they then reduced closer to $30,000. And also California Mortgage Relief increased the grant to $80,000. So Danny will explain to you, he was able to take advantage of that grant. His family matched the grant because the fees and fines had caused his property tax to exceed the $80,000. But I'll let Danny go ahead and explain his story.
Yes, it came out to $90,000, and way it came down is like I didn't without the help I really couldn't have done it. And I had got a hold to Mary and doing the thing where they charged my mom like $60,000 for taxes. It was like I kept going to the code enforcers, actually why they was charging so much. They wouldn't never tell me why. So I sent Mary up there, and then they really told her why they charged so much, and then they lowered the situation. So basically that's how it came down. And it's like they didn't really want to tell me why. I didn't understand why they would tell me. So basically it looked like they were just trying to take the house, like we wasn't going to be able to save it, and they just was like going to take it. I didn't understand that. So Mary stepped in and really helped me a lot through everything what she's done for me. And that's how we worked it out. But, it's like they don't want to give nothing back. They just said that from 50 to 33,000 is a lot of money, and it's like the more money, the more fines that they put on us. And how can I get some of that back, which was not true. And they figured that they made the mistake that they did and said, okay, we dropped it from $56,000 to $30,000. And that's where I'm at right now. Seeing if they would do something is like really like they just wanted to just take it for whatever reason. I don't know. You know, when they came to clean up my backyard, they said I was, they said, keep it up, you're doing a good job. Next thing you know, they came into their stuff. Everybody else's yard, they when they clean up the yard out there, they charge them like $10,000. But they said that we owe $56,000, was like 30, 40,000 more than anybody else that's ever had their yard done on where I stay. But we worked it out.
And we're currently working with the city of Richmond to see if we can negotiate down some of the penalties to help the family who put out of pocket over $10,000 to clear their property tax arrearages.
Wow. Well, another real life situation that can affect the family so deeply. Mr. Bishop, tell us, you know, how long have you been in that house?
Well, we've been there for I'm 62. We've been there since I was a kid, since I was like 4 years old.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, that was my grandma's house. And my grandma and grandfather passed in the early 60s. So my mom's been having the house all this time. And we never owed no, she's the mortgages and none of that's the problem. It's just when she caught dementia, they, you know, I didn't know that she wasn't paying when I figured it out. And then they said, well, we're going to clean up the backyard and we're going to charge you a whole bunch of money. And when they did that, and it just was, you know, ridiculous because kept going down there for months. And then I just got a hold of Mary, thank God I did. And when she went down there, they told her what I been asking for the 4 months prior.
Wow. Mary, is this normal that there's no response from bureaucracies when people call in and ask what's going on? I mean,
I even went down there.
Probably normal.
Unfortunately, yes, it is. It seems to be there's a correlation with the larger the entity, the more resistant they are to be amenable to dealing with individual situations. I worked with the county tax collector. There is tax code that gives them the discretion to give relief to Danny and his family. And they told me in the end after, oh gosh, 6 months working with them that they're not going to provide that discretionary relief. And so at the same time, we've been working with the city of Richmond to see if they will help out because of the fact that those high, originally the mistaken tax code enforcement penalty was much higher than it should have been, which caused just this snowball effect where the family was really severely impacted. And they had put the house up for a tax sale. So we were just neck and neck, struggling. And Danny really has been a strong advocate. He's been a pleasure to work with. And it really is the bureaucracy has just made it difficult. Although I would say California Mortgage Relief is big, they were excellent. They were right on top of every, once that 80,000 grant came in, they were right on top of it. And that's been the savior for the family.
Yes.
That's really great. And I must say that it's important to have and to hold these kinds of informative events so that the media and the communities that they represent know that this is going on. Thank you, Mr. Bishop, for this. And I'm so glad things are looking up. Thank you so much. I have a question for both Rebecca and Joseph. You mentioned African Americans and Latinos. We also have a lot of Asian media in this call. We also often have Native American calls, journalists in these calls. What can you tell us about these two communities and how affected they have been by foreclosures?
I'm sorry, and how they've been affected by the foreclosures?
Yeah, whether they are also vulnerable, like, you know, the other communities that you mentioned.
I think, yeah, I mean, from the California Mortgage Relief Program, we've recognized that a lot of different cultures were hit differently financially due to the pandemic. All of our funds are focused on pandemic relief, obviously. And so whether it is African American or a Latino family, as well as, you know, Asian American AAPI, we all recognize that everyone was hit in a different way, but everyone was affected due to the pandemic and do have the ability to lose their home when they don't make those payments. And, you know, we recognize that you didn't cause the pandemic and that, you know, it was unjustly, everyone was affected by it, but some people were affected more or less. And so this is an opportunity for any homeowner, regardless of race or ethnicity, but especially those in communities where, you know, if you were to lose your home, that realistically in this state with the housing prices and, you know, the current market conditions, you may not be able to regain home ownership in the near future. And so we want to make sure that we're connecting with all communities. That's one of the main reasons why we do a lot of our targeted outreach through community-based organizations. We have a really great, actually, CBO partner in Koreatown in LA. We actually hosted one of our press events when we launched our property tax program. They hosted us there. All of our materials are translated by native speakers in 6 different languages. Our contact center can help you with multiple languages beyond those 6. So we really think and recognize that these communities, especially the ones that you've named, want to connect with people who they trust from their own community in a language that they're most comfortable in culturally competent and, you know, kind of materials. And so the program itself really has taken a lot of time to make sure that our marketing materials, our language support, et cetera, is all kind of with that in mind.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Jaramillo, in listening to Mr. Bishop's case, we wonder, you know, is this a case of falling behind on tax payments, or because local government misread the code? Is this a case of the city becoming predatory? I mean, I understand that you guys are working with the city trying to fix this situation, Mary, but it's just shocking that a city would do this to a homeowner.
I'd like to defer to Mary since she's more directly involved with the case. But Mary, I don't know if you have comments on that.
I think it's a combination. I mean, I'll let Danny also speak on this because I do think the code enforcement was rather aggressive. And at the same time, Danny's mother was suffering from declining mental health. And that was one of the things we tried to impress upon the Contra Costa County tax collector, that this was not a deliberate effort to avoid paying taxes. It was a complicated situation with her declining mental health. The yard needed to be cleaned up, but they just did not seem to be willing to work with the family.
No, because they had told me that I was doing a good job by getting everything out the backyard, which, knowing my situation, I hadn't put it there, but it was there. So I started cleaning the backyard and I let them go in my backyard. They said, okay, you're doing a good job. So next, like 2 weeks after that, they just came with bulldozers, trucks, police, everything, and then had a paper saying they have authorization to go clean my whole backyard out. You know, and it's nothing I could do. You know, whatever you want to take, you better move it down. I had stuff that I couldn't move. They said, or they took bulldozers, they took my fence down and went through my backyard and took everything that I had in the backyard. You know, and then they just smashed it, put it on the trucks and left. Took them 2 days to do it, and they put my fence back up all both sides. And then it was ridiculous, you know. It's like both sides of my fences, the wood's dry rotted, you know. And I haven't even called to complain about that yet. I have other things that's more important than that right now. But you know, my fence was fine. He took my dogs out of my backyard, and then said if I want my dogs back, I have to pay to get them out the pound. They wasn't running around; they were in my backyard.
Got you. Okay, we need to move on, Mr. Bishop. Thank you so much, Mary. Mary or Joseph, can any of you speak as to the experience of other communities, like Indigenous or AAPI?
Yeah, we definitely have many clients in the API community and Native American community that have been hard hit and sought our assistance, particularly during the pandemic. You know, with the loss of jobs, increase in expenses. So yeah, I mean, I haven't looked statistically, but I wouldn't be surprised because Native Americans generally, statistically, I think have been shown to have been subject, just like other communities of color, to predatory loans, you know, like the zombie mortgages. And so I wouldn't be surprised. And then certain segments of the API community as well. So we definitely, from the ground level, we have a lot of clients from those communities that we're trying to help.
Okay, well, maybe reporters can contact you later for more if they're interested. Sunita Sarachi, my colleague, do you have a good question? Please ask it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Bishop and Mary, I'd like to ask this question of you. Do you believe that residents in historically Black neighborhoods, such as Richmond, are being targeted because there is potential to gentrify these areas? Richmond, for example, is trying to position itself as a new tech hub, and I wonder whether there's opportunistic targeting going on here.
So, yes, I think so. Because I see all the big buildings they building all around, and the big houses up there by the golf course, and it's just, you know, it's like move the little people out, and we'll put somebody else in there and do what we do.
I also think, as Joe was mentioning with the zombies tend to be related to the gentrification of neighborhoods, because as the prices have gone up, the servicers are highly motivated to take the home and then sell it at a profit. So it's this runaway condition where more and more families of color who've lived in their homes for over 60 years are being displaced.
Thank you both.
I wasn't able to be unmute there for a second. I'm wondering about rural homeowners. Mary or Joseph, what are the main threats for homeowners who are not in the city? And how do they, well, California Rural Legal Assistance obviously works in many of those areas as well. What are the main threats for people who are away from like the main urban areas?
I would say the pace is very highly concentrated in the Central Valley. As Joe said, a lot of our clients are Spanish speaking. The contractors come to them, they speak to them in Spanish, and then ask them to sign a English written document, and then they walk away, and the homeowner has really no idea what has happened to them. And that's not uncommon in California. And again, it is the more rural communities that we see being targeted. And I'll let Joe
Joanna, yeah, Joanna from CRLA, sorry.
Yes, thank you, Pilar. Like she mentioned, yeah, PACE was really a big scam that hit the rural communities. But scams in general are also hitting a lot of our rural communities. So I briefly mentioned earlier, we had a client that said that somebody offered to help them. I want to say they received like $40,000 from the, now through the investigation, we're learning it was funds through the mortgage relief program. But these scammers are saying that they paid the $40,000. And so now they're asking the borrower to change title to add them to the title because they quote unquote paid money that in reality was from the mortgage relief program. And so in the rural communities, majority of the individuals that come into our offices, they do not speak English, a very low income. And so when they get scammers are targeting them and they speak their language, they feel like maybe it's, you know, I'm going to get help. Somebody's going to help me. So I don't know, I don't lose my home. But in reality, majority of the time we've been seeing that there's been a lot of scams. So scams are really high in the Central Valley and throughout the rural communities of California.
Thank you, Joanna. Well, we're running out of time. We have 3 minutes. Maybe we go around the table and ask for last comments. Maybe Joe?
Thank you, Pilar, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I think we've learned about, you know, really urgent threats that communities of color are facing. The California Mortgage Relief Program has been a real beacon of hope that has helped so many, and we hope that the word gets out so that others that are affected can benefit from that. But we also hope that people get the word out that there is a need to address some of these unsolved problems like zombie mortgages and you know, predatory PACE loans in particular, and also a need for families to seek out help. You know, just as Rebecca Franklin mentioned, HUD certified counseling and legal services help for home preservation is free. And so organizations like mine and Johanna's can provide that, as well as other legal assistance organizations.
Rebecca?
You know, just I urge people to visit our website, camortgagerelief.org. I think it's kind of above my head right now. Also to connect with our contact center, the phone numbers on the website. Again, we have the ability to help you and connect you with free services. $80,000 grant. You don't have to pay back. I also want to highlight for homeowners, when you're talking about the program, or if you represent an organization, it's a free application. We do not ask for that. That's one way to spot a scammer. We have a whole page dedicated on our website to people misrepresenting it. Again, if someone's asking you to pay something back, it's not the California Mortgage Relief Program. And if you're asking for an application fee, that is not our program. But we just encourage people to connect with us and connect with us now. Again, we want to help you save your home and, establish that, for generations to come, that you still have that place to call home.
Thank you for being so accessible, Rebecca and Joe. Joanna, you want to say something to close?
I just want to reiterate what Joe and Rebecca mentioned. There's free assistance to homeowners through HUD certified housing counseling or legal aids. They hopefully will be contacting the nonprofits instead of going through these scammers that are charging up from fees that are illegal. So I just want to emphasize the importance of seeking the free legal services and free HUD certified housing counseling that is available to borrowers to not fall victims of these scammers and lose out more money and potentially go through foreclosure when it could be preventable.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Mary Day.
Yes, we've really been able to take advantage of the California Mortgage Relief Program. One frustration in California is that some counties offer additional relief and other counties offer absolutely nothing. And so I would just encourage people to, reach out to their legislature, policymakers, to see if we can get longer term support for families who struggle temporarily with trying to maintain their home and have been victims of scams. And thank you all for inviting us here too.
No, thank you all for being here, and thanks to your clients. Gracias al señor Saúl también, and thank you for being here, all of my journalist colleagues, and for covering this. Bye-bye. See you next briefing.